In 1988, Honda built a motorcycle that could back itself up with the push of a button. No other bike in the world had that. The Goldwing 1500 came with a massive 1520cc six-cylinder engine that ran so smooth you couldn't even feel it. BMW was still selling their K100 LT with a regular four-cylinder that buzzed and vibrated like most motorcycles did. For decades, BMW had been the king of luxury touring bikes, but when the Goldwing launched, BMW went silent for 4 years. This is the shocking truth behind Honda's Goldwing that silenced BMW in 1988. By the mid-1980s, BMW had established a reputation no Japanese manufacturer could touch. Their motorcycles represented German engineering excellence, precision, durability, status. The K100 LT launched in 1987 as BMW's premium touring machine. The bike used a 987cc inline-4 engine laid on its side, producing 90 horsepower. It weighed 624 pounds dry, making it relatively light for a fully equipped tourer. BMW equipped the K100 LT with fuel injection when most motorcycles still used carburetors. Shaft drive eliminated chain maintenance. Optional anti-lock brakes provided safety that Japanese bikes couldn't match. Everything about the K100 LT screamed quality. The switches were solid, the instruments were clear, the build quality was exceptional. This approach worked brilliantly in the premium touring segment. BMW had carved out a niche where Japanese manufacturers struggled to compete. Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki could build powerful sports bikes and reliable commuters, but they couldn't match BMW's prestige or engineering reputation in the luxury touring category. Riders who wanted the best touring experience bought BMWs. The bikes cost more, but owners felt they were getting superior engineering and European sophistication. But Honda was about to prove that Japanese manufacturers could build luxury too, and they could do it with technology BMW couldn't match. While BMW was refining their four-cylinder K-series, Honda was developing something completely different, a touring machine that would redefine what riders should expect from a premium tourer. The project started in 1984 when a new design team began planning the next-generation Goldwing. Honda had been building Goldwings since 1975, starting with a 1000cc flat 4, but Honda's engineers wanted more than evolution. They wanted revolution. Honda chose a six-cylinder engine layout. The original 1975 Goldwing prototype had actually been a flat 6, but Honda decided the market wasn't ready back then. By 1984, they believed the time was right. The development process was extraordinary. Honda built 60 complete prototype motorcycles and 20 additional prototype engines before settling on the final design. This was the most comprehensive model development project in Honda's history. The result was a 1520cc horizontally opposed six-cylinder engine. The layout was similar to the Porsche 911 sports car engine, with cylinders arranged in two banks of 3 opposing each other. This configuration provided perfect primary and secondary balance, making the engine incredibly smooth. Honda tuned the engine to produce 100 horsepower at just 5,200 RPM. The red line was only 5,500 RPM, unusually low for a motorcycle engine. But the focus wasn't on high rev power. Honda designed the engine for tremendous low-end torque that could pull heavy loads without strain. The engine used rubber cushions at all mounting points to isolate vibration. A redesigned transmission eliminated gear wind completely. The result was an engine so smooth that riders couldn't feel it running at any RPM. No vibration in the mirrors, no buzz in the handlebars or foot pegs, just effortless, silent power. When Honda revealed the complete GL 1500 Goldwing specifications, the technology gap between their approach and BMW's became obvious. The six-cylinder engine produced the same 100 horsepower as BMW's later K1100 LT, but it did so at much lower RPM. Peak power came at 5,200 RPM compared to BMW's 7,250 RPM. This meant the Honda could pull strongly without revving high, reducing mechanical stress and noise. The chassis used larger wheels than previous Goldwings. An 18-inch front wheel and a 16-inch rear wheel provided better stability and ride quality on rough roads. The front suspension used 41mm fork tubes with carefully tuned spring and damping rates. Honda didn't include any adjustments because they had tested extensively to find settings that worked for a wide variety of riding conditions. The rear used an unusual setup with 2 different shocks, a conventional coil spring shock on the left side and an air shock on the right side. An onboard air compressor allowed automatic leveling of the bike based on load. Riders could also manually adjust the air pressure for different riding situations. The seat represented extraordinary development effort. Honda hired riders of various sizes to ride prototypes for weeks while followed by a van carrying a professional seat maker. As the group traveled the country, the seatmaker continuously modified seats until the comfort level was optimized for different body types. The result was the most comfortable production motorcycle seat ever made. The luggage system used hidden latches with no external hardware. One lock in the tail trunk secured all 3 compartments. Storage capacity exceeded any other touring bike on the market. The stereo system included a 24-watt per channel amplifier as standard equipment. Full bodywork enclosed everything except the cylinder heads. This eliminated virtually all mechanical noise and protected riders from engine heat even on hot days. The windshield could be raised or lowered over a 2.5-inch range for different weather conditions, but Honda saved the most important feature for last. The GL 1500 was the first production motorcycle ever built with a reverse gear. With the engine running and transmission in neutral, riders lifted a lever on the left knee panel and pushed the starter button. This energized the starter motor in reverse, propelling the bike backwards at exactly 1 mile per hour. Sophisticated electronics regulated the voltage to maintain that speed regardless of whether the bike was on level ground or a slope. For riders pulling trailers or maneuvering in tight spaces, this feature was revolutionary. No more pushing 875 pounds of motorcycle backwards uphill. Just push a button and the bike moved itself. BMW had nothing remotely comparable. Their K100LT was a fine motorcycle with good engineering, but it used conventional technology refined to high standards. The GL 1500 used advanced technologies that created entirely new capabilities. The GL 1500 launched in 1988 at $9,998. In 1989, Honda raised the price to $11,498. Those numbers created a problem BMW could not solve. The BMW KL100 cost somewhere in the $10,000 to $12,000 range in 1988, so buyers could choose between a 987cc BMW 4-cylinder with conventional technology or a 1520cc Honda 6-cylinder with revolutionary features for similar money. The displacement difference alone was dramatic. The Honda had 533cc more engine than the BMW. That's like getting a whole extra motorcycle engine worth of displacement for free. But the real value gap showed in what you got for that price. The BMW offered excellent build quality and German engineering prestige. The Honda offered more power, more cylinders, reverse gear, better stereo, more luggage space, more comfortable seat, and smoother operation. For riders shopping with their wallets instead of their national pride, the choice was obvious. The Goldwing delivered substantially more motorcycle for similar or less money. The weight difference favored BMW. The K100LT weighed 624 pounds dry compared to the GL 1500 794 pounds. That 170 pound difference mattered in parking lots, but at speed, the weight difference disappeared. The GL 1500's low center of gravity and excellent suspension made it surprisingly agile for such a large machine. Honda had essentially built a more advanced motorcycle for similar money, and the market noticed immediately. In May 1988, Cycle World published their test of the GL 1500. The magazine didn't hold back their enthusiasm. They called it the new king of cubic touring. They wrote that the world suddenly got a little smaller the moment Honda announced the GL 1500 because all distances between all places instantly grew noticeably shorter. The review praised the engine's smoothness above everything else. For all practical purposes, you cannot feel it running at any RPM. No mechanical noise whatsoever emanated from beneath the smooth bodywork. The result was a very soothing engine that lacked the frenetic feel you might expect with a 6-cylinder. Cycle World ran a 7,000-mile long-term test with Charles Westphal, executive director of the Goldwing Road Riders Association. This organization had 40,000 devoted members, all Goldwing owners. His verdict was clear. The GL 1500 was a continuation of all the positive aspects of previous Goldwings but in greater quantities. The magazine concluded by stating that the GL 1500 was one mighty fine touring machine, arguably the very best in fact. In smoothness and comfort and sophistication, it had no peer. These words represented a direct challenge to BMW's premium touring dominance. A major motorcycle magazine had just declared a Japanese motorcycle the best touring bike in the world. Not best Japanese tourer, best tourer period. BMW's response would take 4 years. Honda didn't release exact sales figures for the GL 1500, but industry estimates suggest the bike averaged around 10,000 units per year in the United States through the 1990s. That volume represented strong performance in the premium touring segment. More significantly, the GL 1500 became the first Goldwing ever exported from the United States to Japan, Honda had built Goldwings in America since the beginning, but this was the first time they shipped bikes back to their home market. Japanese riders wanted the GL1500 badly enough to buy an American-built motorcycle. That reversal said everything about the GL1500's impact. Honda had created a motorcycle so desirable it transcended normal market patterns. BMW's sale told a different story. While exact K100LT numbers are difficult to verify, the bike sold in much smaller numbers than the Goldwing. BMW targeted a smaller audience willing to pay for German engineering prestige, but the GL1500's success put BMW in an uncomfortable position. They could no longer claim technological superiority in the touring segment. Honda had built a more advanced motorcycle with more features for similar money. Dealerships noticed the shift too. Honda dealers had Goldwings that customers actually wanted to buy. BMW dealers had K100LTs that were excellent motorcycles but faced direct comparison with a more advanced competitor. The market was delivering a clear message. Riders wanted the Goldwing's technology and features. Something had to change. BMW needed to respond with more than just refinements to their existing K-Series platform. But that answer would take years to develop. BMW didn't rush their response to the GL1500. German engineering culture values thorough development over quick reactions, but 4 years is a long time to leave your flagship tourer outgunned by the competition. BMW finally launched the K1100LT in 1992. Instead of trying to match the GL1500's size and features, BMW went in a different direction. They made their touring bike better at what BMWs had always done well. They focused on making it more nimble, more responsive, and more engaging to ride. The K1100LT used an enlarged version of BMW's inline-4 engine. Displacement increased from 987cc to 1093cc. The bigger engine made 100 horsepower, matching the GL1500's output, but the BMW revved higher, making peak power at 7,250 rpm compared to Honda's 5,200 rpm. BMW added a 16-valve cylinder head from their sportier K1 model. They installed a 3-way catalytic converter, making it the only bike in the United States with that emission control technology. The windshield became electrically adjustable, moving up and down at the touch of a button. But the K1100LT still weighed less than the Goldwing. It was more nimble in corners. It felt more like a motorcycle and less like a luxury touring machine. BMW had made a choice to position their bike differently rather than directly competing with the GL1500's approach. The price told the story clearly. The K1100LT launched at $14,290 in 1992. That was substantially more expensive than the GL1500's $11,498 price tag. BMW was charging a $2,800 premium for their name and their approach. In September 1992, Cycle World tested the new K1100LT. Their review revealed both the strengths and limitations of BMW's response to the Goldwing. The magazine praised the bigger engine. "This is the best K-motor yet," they wrote. The bike could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds and run the quarter mile in 12.12 seconds at 110 miles per hour. That was quicker than Honda's ST1100 Sport Tourer. The adjustable windshield earned enthusiastic approval. The seat was excellent, firm but supportive. The controls were logical and well designed. The build quality was typical BMW, meaning excellent. But Cycle World also identified serious problems. The engine still vibrated, enough to tingle the toes, numb the fingers, and fuzz the mirrors at all speeds between 55 and 90 miles per hour. The review stated bluntly that Luxo touring rigs aren't supposed to do that. The engine revved at 4,500 rpm when cruising at 75 miles per hour. Combined with the vibration, this made the ride feel buzzy and unrefined compared to the Goldwing's smoothness. Most significantly, Cycle World directly compared the K1100LT to the Goldwing. Their conclusion was telling. These two bikes, so similar in intent, are very different indeed in the way they do their jobs. The magazine suggested that riders who stayed mostly on interstates should choose the Wing. Riders who wanted to corner hard on twisty roads should choose the BMW. But then they added a final observation. If they were buying with their own money, they would choose Honda's ST1100 Sports Tourer instead of either bike. That verdict had to sting. BMW had spent 4 years developing their response to the Goldwing, but when an influential magazine compared the two bikes, they recommended neither one. BMW sales expectations for the K1100LT revealed how different their market position was compared to Honda. The company projected selling just 550 units in 1992 and 650 units in 1993. Compare those numbers to Honda's estimated 10,000 annual Goldwing sales. BMW was hoping to capture about 5% of the volume Honda was achieving. The $14,290 price tag reflected BMW's position too. At nearly $3,000 more than the GL 1500, the K1100 LT was asking buyers to pay a significant premium for the BMW name and engineering approach. Some riders would gladly pay that premium, but most touring riders wouldn't. BMW had accepted that they could beat Honda at Honda's game. They weren't trying to build a six-cylinder luxury cruiser that could match the Goldwing's smoothness and features. Instead, they built a more agile, more engaging touring bike that appealed to a different type of rider. The problem was that this positioning essentially conceded the luxury touring segment to Honda. BMW was saying their bike was different, not better. For a company that had dominated premium touring for decades, that represented a significant shift in market standing. Honda had forced BMW to redefine what their touring bikes were about. Instead of claiming overall superiority, BMW had to carve out a niche for riders who wanted something more focused and less luxurious. Put a 1988 Honda Goldwing next to a 1988 BMW K100 LT and the philosophy gap becomes clear. The BMW uses a 987cc inline-4 engine making 90 horsepower. The bike weighs 624 pounds dry. It has conventional technology executed to high German engineering standards. The price is around $11,000. The Honda uses a 1520cc flat-six engine making 100 horsepower. The bike weighs 794 pounds dry. It has revolutionary features like reverse gear and the smoothest engine ever installed in a production motorcycle. The price is $9,998. BMW built for riders who valued handling and European prestige. Honda built for riders who valued maximum comfort and advanced technology. Both approaches had merit, but in the marketplace, Honda's approach won decisively. More riders wanted maximum comfort and advanced features than wanted European handling and prestige. The GL 1500 sold roughly 20 times more units than the K100 LT. The sales ratio tells the real story. BMW's bike was excellent for what it was trying to do, but what it was trying to do appealed to a much smaller audience than what Honda was offering. Honda didn't silence BMW through racing victories or aggressive marketing. They silenced BMW by making their engineering approach look outdated and conservative. When the GL 1500 launched in 1988, BMW had no response. Their K100 LT used conventional technology that couldn't match Honda's six-cylinder smoothness. They had no reverse gear. They had less luggage space and a less comfortable seat. BMW couldn't argue that their bike was more advanced. They could only argue that it was different, more focused on handling, more connected to the road, more traditionally European in character. Those arguments worked with a small audience who shared BMW's priorities, but they didn't work with the broader touring market that wanted maximum comfort for long-distance riding. This created a lasting perception gap between the two brands. Honda became known for technological innovation and advanced features in touring bikes. BMW became known for traditional engineering focused on handling and rider engagement. The K1100 LT that launched in 1992 was BMW's admission that they needed to respond to Honda's challenge. But even that response positioned the BMW as a more agile, more engaging alternative rather than claiming overall superiority. BMW didn't lose in the traditional sense. They continued selling K-Series bikes to satisfied customers throughout the 1990s, but they lost the ability to claim clear superiority in the premium touring segment. Honda's GL 1500 had raised the bar too high for BMW to clear with their existing engineering approach. The real silencing happened in the product planning meetings at BMW headquarters. When engineers proposed new touring bike features, someone had to say, the Goldwing already has that. When they discussed pricing strategy, someone had to acknowledge, the Goldwing costs less and offers more. When they talked about sales projections, someone had to explain, Honda sells 20 times more units than we do. Those conversations represent the real defeat, not the inability to compete, but the acknowledgement that direct competition wasn't even possible given BMW's resources and market position. 3 decades after the GL 1500 launched, one question remains: which bike would you rather own today? The Honda that dominated sales and defined luxury touring? Or the BMW that offered traditional engineering and European prestige? For most riders, the answer is still the Goldwing. The smoothness that impressed critics in 1988 remains impressive today. The comfort features that seemed revolutionary then are still effective now. Well-maintained GL 1500s continue touring the country. proving the durability of Honda's design. The GL 1500 remained in production from 1988 until 2000, a 12-year run that proved its design was fundamentally sound. During that period, Honda made only minor updates. They tweaked the brakes, carburetors, and camshafts, but the basic design didn't need radical changes because it was right from the beginning. That longevity validated Honda's massive development investment. The 60 prototypes and 20 engine prototypes paid off with a motorcycle that could dominate its segment for over a decade without major redesigns, but the market chose decisively. Honda sold 20 times more Goldwings than BMW sold K1100 LTs. The ratio tells you everything about what touring riders actually wanted. The GL 1500 proved that winning the luxury touring battle required more than just good engineering. It required understanding what riders actually needed for covering huge distances comfortably. It required investing massively in development to get every detail right. It required the courage to build something radically different rather than just refining existing designs. Honda did all of that. BMW didn't. That's why one bike dominates touring conversations while the other is largely forgotten except by BMW enthusiasts. The shocking truth isn't that the GL 1500 was more advanced. The shocking truth is that BMW took 4 years to respond, and when they finally did, they still couldn't match what Honda had achieved in 1988. That 4-year gap let Honda establish dominance so complete that BMW never seriously challenged it. Sometimes the most important victories happen when you completely redefine what winning means. The GL 1500 changed the rules of luxury touring from build the best traditional touring motorcycle to build the most comfortable, technologically advanced touring machine possible. BMW was still playing by the old rules while Honda had already won the new game. That's how you silence a competitor, not by beating them at their own game, but by changing the game itself. If both bikes were the same price today, which one are you riding home and what convinced you? Drop your take in the comments below. And if you want more videos about engineering battles and technology wars that shaped motorcycle history, subscribe and hit the notification bell.